Hey everyone, hope everyone's day was good. School's going great. I'm going to be talking about adolescence and thinking, so I'm going to get started with Piaget's theory of cognitive development and those four stages. So I'm just going to start at the bottom with the first stage, and then I'll work my way up to formal operations, which we're in now, and then kind of add on to that with what's going on with adolescents and how they think. So the first one is sensory motor, and infants, this goes from 0 to 2 years old, and they're thinking through direct sensory and motor contact. Any senses in movement, that's what they're picking up on, touching, whatever they can get their hands on. The next is pre-operational. Sorry, my dog. Um, and this goes from 2 to 6 years old, and the child is using symbols to represent object but does not reason logically. They have irrational thought. The child also has the ability to pretend, so if you had imaginary friends, kind of the time. During this stage, the child is very egocentric as well. So, the next stage I have, or in the thing, in the development, is concrete operational, which is 7 to 12 years old, and this is where the child can think logically about concrete objects, and he can use addition and subtraction. He also understands conversation. And then the next stage, which we're going to be in, is formal operations, which is from 12 years old to adulthood. And the adolescent can reason abstractly and think in hypothetical terms. So, what if, a hypothesis? I always think of science class. Those are always fun to do. And according to Piaget, adolescence is a period characterized by formal operations. So I'll get into that. An example of formal operational thought would be imagining the outcome of a particular action that has yet to be undertaken. Formal operation thought in general involves the ability to think in the abstract, the ability to combine and classify items, and the ability to use higher order reasoning skills. I always think of a math class where we had these, I want to say it was middle school about, maybe. We had these algorithms, we called them, and basically, if you watch that video with the boy and he had to put the sandwich as many ways as he could with using the stuff, but it couldn't be the same. But these were with we had a row of people maybe, and then they were wearing different color shoes, shirt, and pants. And then it would be like, Tommy is wearing green pants but not a red shirt. So then you would cross off red shirt. You knew he wasn't wearing a red shirt. And then as you worked your way to the bottom, you found out what everyone was wearing. So I just always think of those that we worked on. The next thing I'm going to, excuse me, touch on is the four aspects that come into play that are really getting to be worked on during this time. Sorry. And those would be attention, memory, speed, and organization. So, your attention, oh boy. Improvements are seen in selective attention, which is a process by which you're focusing on one thing and tuning out another. And then we have divided attention as well, where it's attention to two or more things at the same time. And next is memory. Improvements are seen in both working and long term. Your working memory is going to be something you remember for a shorter period of time than your long term memory, obviously. And your processing speed. Adolescents think way more quickly than children, obviously. And your processing speed improves sharply between the age of 5 and middle adolescence and levels off at around age 15. And it doesn't appear to get any faster than that through adulthood. So what you get is what you got. And the last one, organization. Adolescents are more aware of their own thoughts and processes and can use mnemonic devices, techniques for remembering something more easily, and other strategies more efficiently. Chunking is something for a mnemonic device. I always think of science and just kind of how I remembered stuff. Just like if a word was similar to another word, I would kind of put those together and it would make it easier for me to remember. The next thing I'm going to touch on is metacognition, and this would have to do with adolescents and how they're thinking about thinking itself. This often involves monitoring one's own cognitive action during the thinking process. Metacognition provides the ability to plan ahead, see the future consequences of an action, and provide alternative explanations of an event. This can also result in increased introspective, self-consciousness, and intellectualization. Adolescents understand people, they don't have complete control over their mental activity. Being able to introspect may lead to two forms of egocentrism or self-focus. And those would be the imaginary fable imaginary audience and personal fable. And the imaginary audience is thinking everyone's focused on you, like just freaking out because you think everyone's attention is just on you. Like, I always think of the example of a zit, and you go to school and you're so self-conscious because you think everyone's staring at it, but in reality I don't think anyone cares, or it's not a big deal. And the next one's a personal fable, which causes adolescents to feel like they can do anything. Nothing's going to harm them. I'm awesome. Something like you don't think you have to wear a seatbelt when you're driving, or something like that. Adolescents are more likely to engage in relativistic thinking, or in other words, they are more likely to question other assertions and less likely to accept information as absolute truth. Through experience and not through their family, they learn the rules were taught as absolute or actually relativistic. And they begin to differentiate rules crafted from common sense, such as don't touch this, a hot stove, and those that are based on cultural relative standards, such as codes of etiquette. And this is a time they're going to do a lot of questioning authority, just a bunch of stuff, everything. So I guess some questions I had, you can pick, I have a few, and you can choose what you'd want to answer, but I would just like to know if anyone can think of their own time where they thought they had an imaginary audience watching them, or a personal fable you can think of. That would be awesome if you could let me know. We can discuss those things. And then the other one is, did you engage in any risky behavior at that time? Think of, I don't know, did the rewards outweigh the consequences, if you can think of any of that. And then I would like to know what metacognition tools aid you in studying. Can you think back to those? Did you work on any like algorithms or stuff, or higher order thinking situations like that? So I guess that's all I have. So if you could answer those and just kind of elaborate